low post, mid post, high post, post game sports.
Hey, sports fans! This is Robert with WTP Sports Dudes here live for another edition of Across the Board. We're going to be talking about Deshaun Watson versus Shador Sanders. Also, is the claw Quali Leonard? Is he going to be headed out of LA, leaving the Clippers to possibly land at the Los Angeles Lakers? Or maybe even the Golden State Warriors, staying in the state of California in the NBA if he can get out of that contract. We'll have to wait and see on that, but it's definitely a possibility. And we got much, much more as it relates to the world of sports. I'm here this evening with my man Post Game of the Post Game 86 podcast. We came in on his intro. Welcome to the show, Post Game. How you feeling, my brother?
I feel good, man. My apologies for that. I should have switched it back. But man, how you doing, Rob? How was your vacay?
Oh, I'm doing good, man. The vacation was wonderful. I had a really good time. I have to go back because there were so many things that I wanted to do that I wasn't able to get to do. Weather being one of those things. So I'm going to head back there once I know it's nice and warm and I can get to visit some of the other sites that I want to see. Hopefully, they'll have the renovations done on Motown so I can go check that out as well. Yeah, how about you? How's everything been for you?
Pretty good, man. Just trying to feed the kids or they gonna eat me. You know how it go.
For sure, for sure, for sure. Let's go ahead and get into some of this discussion that we got tonight. We got Deshaun Watson and Shador Sanders. They will battle for the quarterback one next season for the Browns. What's your prediction on these two battling it out to be quarterback one for the Browns?
Well, that's a really intriguing situation, I must say, because I don't expect Deshaun Watson to ever get back to that MVP caliber type quarterback that he was early on in his career at Houston, coming out of Clemson. I believe it was two AC or ankle surgeries and a shoulder, if I'm not mistaken. I have a hard time believing that Deshaun Watson is going to ever get back to form. So, with that being said, I would still favor Shador Sanders to win, but there's a slight chance that Deshaun Watson is healthy and he does get back to form. I'm not counting on it, but there still is a chance. And if that happens, he's owed somewhere around 40 million bucks. And if Deshaun Watson is anything like he was before the situation and the injuries, I find it hard to believe that Cleveland would sit that much money on their bench. If they're equal at camp, I think they'll lean towards Watson. But like I said earlier, there's a chance Watson is just not the same player, and Shador runs away with this quarterback competition.
I think this is a really, really smart move by the Cleveland Browns to force both of these guys to go out there and really hone in on their skills and really try to battle this thing out to get better and better and better each week, really from here on out. They should both be working very, very hard, very, very diligently so that they can win that position. And I think the Browns are super smart by putting it out there early so that both of these guys can go to work. I really do believe the fact that you got a $40 million man on your roster, you ain't gonna let him sit too long. But I do believe that the Cleveland Browns want Shador Sanders to be their quarterback of the future. Will he be their quarterback in the near future? I don't think so. But I think long term, he will be the man that will be at the helm for the Cleveland Browns. But right now, I think that they're going to probably give it over to Deshaun Watson just because he's a $40 million guy. Right along those same lines, will this be a true competition or a way to please all sides in this matter?
That right there all depends on Deshaun Watson's health and recovery. Again, if he's able to get back to where he was, which I highly doubt, I just don't see a player coming back. And not only recovering from the injuries, Rob, he set out a whole season. I mean, even when Peyton Manning had the neck surgery and he set out that year, that first year in Denver, he wasn't like lights out. It took him a year. That following year, Peyton Manning was lights out. And I don't think Deshaun Watson is as talented of a quarterback as Peyton Manning was. So it all depends on the health and recovery of Deshaun Watson. There's a chance he does get back to that form. I doubt it. But if he does, this will be a true competition, because what could end up happening is Deshaun Watson could look so terrible that the Cleveland Browns just cut him, especially if Shedeur Sanders is able to make strides and avoid a sophomore slump, so to speak. I believe you can see a scenario like that. But if everything checks out for Watson, Shedeur makes strides, I do believe this is a true competition. But that's a big if, Rob.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I think that this is going to be a true competition. I think it's the best practice for any organization when you got two quarterbacks that you could put into a competition so that they can compete, get better at their skills, really force them to have to work as hard as possible. I think that's the best practice for any organization. I think Cleveland is going to take full advantage of putting this out there as a competition. I think it's going to be a true one. It would be totally different if we were saying Shedeur Sanders and Dylan Gabriel. We know that would be some straight up pleasing both sides then. But in this case, with Shedeur and Deshaun Watson, I think it's going to be a true competition. And I think the Browns are going to eventually go with who they think will be the person who can lead them the furthest as a team and possibly to make it to the playoffs. Because they're probably going to have a really good defense on the other side of the ball for the Cleveland Browns that can help them possibly make it to the playoffs. But they're in a really tough division with the Steelers, Ravens, and Bengals. Kirk Cousins is supposedly going to be released by the Falcons in March. Does this guarantee Atlanta will be drafting a quarterback in this year's draft? And will Cousins find another home in the
NFL? I'm not sure that they'll be looking to draft a quarterback so long as Penix is healthy and ready to go for the new season. If that's the case, I don't believe they'll be drafting a quarterback. I don't believe this to be a great quarterback class, in my opinion, in the first place. So I think they're going to be all in on Michael Penix this season. As far as Kirk Cousins goes, I don't believe he's the same quarterback he was in Minnesota when him and Justin Jefferson were lighting the league up and were on fire. And I believe they finished the season like 14-2 a few years back, 13-3, something like that, if memory serves me correctly. But I just don't believe Kirk Cousins is that same guy after the injury going to Atlanta. I know a lot of people feel like that coaching staff was a mess there when he was under center, but I just don't believe Kirk Cousins is that same guy. Will he find a home? Absolutely, because I feel like a lot of teams need a bridge quarterback because they're honing in on next year's NFL draft for their quarterback of the future with all the big names in that draft. So, I mean, you think about teams like Pittsburgh, maybe the Jets, maybe Arizona, teams like that where he can be a bridge quarterback until they get their guy of the future. but I don't believe at all that Kirk Cousins is the same quarterback he used to be. Just a bridge guy. That's all.
Yeah, I believe that the Falcons, if they can get in the later rounds of the NFL draft, and there's a guy like what One Take Zay is saying in Sawyer Roberts, if he's there possibly in the third, fourth round, I think you go and get you a quarterback at that point. I mean, who knows? Nussmeier might even be there around the third or fourth round. I think at that range in the draft, if there's a quarterback of that caliber, you probably have to draft one just for security purposes. I agree with you that this year's draft is not going to be even anything close to what next year's going to possibly look like. So I think they're going to be all in on Penix. I really do. But I think if they can get a quarterback later on in the draft that has the tools and the upside that you will be looking for as an NFL franchise, I think they'll get somebody then. Will Kirk Cousins land somewhere? Yeah, he'll definitely land somewhere because of the fact that he has a whole lot of playing experience. And if you only need a guy to come in and possibly get you one or two starts in case your quarterback goes down, or to even be a third string guy, a locker room guy to help the younger quarterbacks out, you'll take him for those purposes. I don't think he's going to come with a high price tag. So I definitely can see him landing somewhere else. But I think that the Falcons will draft a quarterback. If it's in the later rounds and there's a good guy that's still waiting around, like if a Quinn Ewers caliber guy falls in round 7, they definitely go get a quarterback. But I think they're all in on Michael Penix this year. All they got to do is keep him upright. You don't really need him to run the football. Maybe to get a first down here and there, but it don't got to be design runs for Penix. You just got to keep him clean, keep him from taking hits, and hope that he can not fall off of his bicycle if he's riding with his children, if he has any, and make sure he stays healthy. And they could be really good because I like Michael Penix. I think he was playing really good up until he got injured. It's just a matter of keeping him healthy.
100%. And man, listen, I love Sawyer Robertson out of Baylor. And I believe that once the combine starts and teams see him throw, I believe that his draft stock is going to go through the roof. So I'm really huge on Sawyer Robertson. And one other point, Rob, I've been hearing a lot of chatter lately that Mr. Simpson from Alabama could possibly creep up into that first round. Now, I wouldn't take him like 12 or 13 like Moss did in our mock draft, but I can definitely see somebody in the back end of the first round, maybe wanting a quarterback, somebody like the Rams who he can sit under Matthew Stafford for a year or two and learn. I can see a scenario like that. But I'm extremely high on Sawyer Robertson. I think he's going to do well in the draft process.
Yeah, I'm in total agreement with you on that. We've seen over the decades, if we've been watching these NFL drafts, there's always a quarterback who going into the draft or right around the draft talk, you're not talking about him, but then all of a sudden this guy's name pops up and he starts getting a lot of buzz and teams are starting to like him, and then he eventually becomes a first-round draft pick when before all of that talk started happening, he was a guy that was going in the third or fourth round. So we know that's definitely going to happen for somebody in this draft at that quarterback position. Where do you think AJ Brown will end up, and what's the best fit for him, and at what price tag?
That's a great question. We all know AJ Brown more than likely isn't happy in Philadelphia. I just don't think even though they've won championships and they've been a contender since he's been there, I don't think for some reason that he enjoys playing in that type of offense. So some potential suitors would be Vegas. If they draft Mendoza, they'll definitely need a wide receiver one, a new wide receiver one. We know what they got at tight end. We know what they got at running back. AJ Brown would be perfect for the back shoulder throws that Mendoza has been money with. I think he would be a perfect fit for a team like Vegas and Fernando Mendoza and with the strengths he has at quarterback and that back shoulder throw. Brock Bowers at tight end, that running game, he would be perfect for the Vegas Raiders. Maybe the New England Patriots, they want an elite number one wide receiver. Maybe they make a deal, they strike a deal with Philadelphia and get him AJ Brown to go with their young stud quarterback. So there's a few teams that I think AJ Brown would be great and fit in better with, where he can get the ball and demand the ball like a wide receiver one that he truly is. I think AJ Brown's a guy you can target 10 to 12 times a game. I think he's that elite. And we know that the Philadelphia Eagles, that's not really their style of play. So I think he definitely needs to move on and go somewhere like the teams I just mentioned. The price tag, they're going to pay him as the number one wide receiver, even though some people may think his stats are a little down. Well, it's because the system he played in. You put him with a quarterback who throws the ball downfield a little bit more accurate than the one they got in Philly. I think AJ Brown again is an elite wide receiver and he'll take off as far as his numbers go. But they definitely gonna pay him as a wide receiver one.
Yeah, man, I'm gonna be honest with you, man. I wouldn't mind getting AJ Brown back at my Tennessee Titans, man. At least a guy who we know can come in there, can be a good option for Cam Ward, a guy with some reliable hands, a strong wide receiver, especially when you got those third and shorts, a guy you can just pitch it out there to. He can break a tackle on the defensive back and get you those 3-yard first downs. I just don't know what kind of locker room guy he is. He's usually very an emotional guy. We know he's going to leave it all out there on the field. It's just a matter of keeping him happy while he's out there on the field, making sure he get the opportunity to get touches or at least get looks. I think in the Philadelphia offense, it's just not happening for him, the style of play that they have, with the style of quarterback that they have. I would love to see him back in the Tennessee uniform. I don't think he should have ever been out of a Tennessee uniform, but I mean, it would be nice for him to be there. But I really like what you said about the Raiders, man. I think that would be a really, really good fit for them. He will go in and be a number one wide receiver for them, a guy who we know that Geno Smith, being a veteran quarterback, if he continues to be the quarterback at the Raiders, you know that he's going to target him a lot because he's a veteran quarterback that understands when you have a wide receiver the caliber of A.J. Brown, you're going to make sure he gets those opportunities to catch those balls, and he's going to allow you to help out of Brock Bowers and the running back. His name slips my mind right now, but we all know who I'm talking about. Yeah, Gentry. Yep. So we know that he will be a really, really good fit there. I would also like to see him land somewhere like, I would want to say the Steelers, but I would like to see the Ravens get him because I think that Lamar Jackson could benefit from him. Somewhere where we know the quarterback is a veteran quarterback that's going to make sure he get the ball. I could even see him going to the Buffalo Bills too. That would be a pretty decent fit for him as well. At what price tag? Man, I'm gonna tell you right now, he's gonna have to want to be a bargain player, man, because I don't know how many teams out there with all of the dynamic wide receivers that we're going to be seeing coming out of college in the next couple of years that are already in the NFL now. I don't know if he's going to be able to demand the kind of money that he's going to hope that he can get. I don't know if he's going to get that. I think he's going into year 8 or 9 in his career. That's on the back end of as a wide receiver. And I think he's just going to have to be a bargain guy, and he's going to have to be willing to be a bargain guy to be able to extend his NFL career, because he's one of those players that I think that he could get blackballed very easily because of some of the antics that he has on the sideline. One take Zaya said the Bills as well. Yeah, I really think the Bills will be a really, really good fit for him if he was to land there. Let's talk a little bit about the college game. Philip Rivers' son, and I know Philip Rivers' son is probably going to hate the fact that for the rest of his life, he's going to be called Philip Rivers' son unless he do some dynamic things to be called by his real name. But right now, we're going to call him Philip Rivers' son, a 4-star, commits to NC State. What's your thoughts on that? And will he end his career after 3 to 5 years as a Wolfpack player?
Absolutely, man. His name is Gunnar Phillips. Like you mentioned, he's a 4-star. He had over 40 touchdowns and just under 3,000 yards of offense this past high school football season. So, I mean, it's not like they doing him a favor. This is a guy who other colleges, including Georgia, went after. So it's not like, they giving Phillip Rivers the wink and just getting his son on campus because his dad played there. No, his son can play a little ball, in his own right. So I think it's a great fit. I think it's a great thing to follow in your dad's footsteps. Will he end his playing career with the Wolfpack? It's hard to say, in the era of the transfer portal and NIL, but I think the fact that his father played at NC State, his father probably has a lot of pull around that campus. I think that he'll probably stay put so long as he doesn't flop and turn out to be just a former NFL player's son. So long as he can play the game, which I believe this kid has the goods, he can play. I think he'll end his career with NC State, or barring a devastating injury, which I'm not wishing on that kid, but just for the question's sake, barring something catastrophic like that. But I think Phillip Rivers' son probably been groomed his whole life to play the quarterback position. He's his oldest son, so he definitely probably know a thing or two about playing the quarterback position. In that huge football field that they got at their crib, I'm pretty sure that didn't hurt. So I think he'll be fine. We'll see what happens.
Man, I really, really thought that Gunnar Phillips or Gunnar Rivers, Gunnar Rivers would end up at a school in Texas, man. I knew he wasn't going to end up at the Longhorns, even though they liked him. They already had too many quarterbacks in the basket for a guy the caliber of Gunnar Rivers to land at Texas. I think once he started to show how good of a player he was, it was already too late for Texas to really make a pitch for him, because they was already making a pitch somewhere else for some other players. But I really thought somebody like Baylor, somebody like SMU, somebody like Texas Tech, somebody like TCU would make sure that Gunnar Rivers did not get out of the state of Texas, even Texas A&M, because if you look at all of those schools, even though they have another quarterback that's coming in, I don't think that they're going to be as good as Gunnar Rivers is going to be by year 2, 3, definitely if he's there for 4 years. I think that he would have been a good choice for any of those Texas schools who didn't have 2 or 3 guys already in line with the same caliber of talent that he has. But I'm glad that he ended up at NC State, a program where we know he can come in probably in year 2, maybe this year. He might be able to start for them this year. But I know by year 2, he's going to be probably their starting quarterback. They're going to make sure that they have enough talent around him. I'm sure they're going to be able to hit the portal hard and get some veteran dudes. I think he's going to end his career in North Carolina because I think the way his father operates as a professional, you already know that he's not going to allow his son to jump ship and go somewhere else. He's going to have his son compete where he's at NC State and keep on competing until he wins the job, even if he has to be there for 5 years. So I think he's going to end his career there at the Wolfpack, but I think he's going to be a really, really, really good quarterback. I just hope that NC State understands what they're getting and they make sure that they put all the pieces around him that is needed for them to be successful, because I think they got a really good a quarterback in Gunnar Rivers. Any other questions you want to tackle? I got as many of them in the chat as I could get in there. Is there anything else you want to talk about? We're coming up right past 25 minutes. We want to try to go for at least an hour. Anything else out there on your mind that you would like to talk about?
We got to touch on the Kawhi Leonard situation.
Oh, yeah, I thought I put that in there. I didn't put that in there. Nope, I didn't. Oh, let's talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, interesting situation, Rob. I believe Kawhi Leonard and the Clippers are still under investigation by the league. And I believe what had happened allegedly is that some company was funneling money outside of Kawhi's NBA contract to him. So that's what I've heard thus far. And if when the investigation concludes, they could void Kawhi Leonard's contract and he can become a free agent. And he would definitely become one of the most sought after free agents ever. Some teams that could possibly be interested in his services, of course, my LA Lakers, the Golden State Warriors, and the New York Knicks. Now, I believe that the perfect scenario for Kawhi Leonard would be joining the LA Lakers. Pairing him with Luka Doncic and LeBron James, even at this stage of LeBron's career, I believe they instantly become a title contender. I can't say the same about Golden State because, they lost Butler, I believe, for the season to injury. So I don't know, even if they were to get Kawhi and you pair him with Steph, I don't believe that would quite be enough to make a championship run. And then at this stage of Steph Curry's career, we don't know if he's going to be healthy or not. He sits out quite a few games. But, I mean, maybe the Knicks, I've heard that he doesn't want to go play in New York. But, man, if you put Kawhi Leonard with the New York Knicks, I think that would also be a dynamic team. But I'm shooting for the Lakers. I hope if he does end up getting released, I'm pretty sure any team that signs him is going to sign him on a cheap, and he doesn't, cause that big of a cap casualty, being a free agent at this moment in time in the NBA. So if he goes to the Lakers, man, I really like the Lakers' chances, pairing him with Luka Doncic to become a title favorite in the NBA. So if that happens, look out, because it could shake up everything in the NBA.
Well, I'm gonna have to pick your brain a little bit on this topic, man, because I'm not as up on it as you are. So if he gets released from this contract and becomes a free agent, does that mean that the Clippers can get nothing in exchange for him being released?
Listen, I don't know that for 100%, but my thinking is this. I think the Clippers were probably involved in that situation if it comes out to be true. So what I'm thinking is that would be part of the punishment, because they just gonna void the contract. So he hits free agency immediately if all that takes place. So I mean, they probably gonna do a little more damage to the Clippers than that. We talk about draft picks, maybe forfeiting. I've even heard that the owners may be forced to sell the team. So I don't know how true that is, but that's one of the things that I heard could be a punishment. So I think they serious about this situation, man. And it's definitely for anybody listening, it's definitely worth monitoring because that move alone could shake up the NBA so drastically as we getting closer and closer to playoff time after the All-Star break. It could really tip the scale and it's one of these teams' favorites.
If he was to get released, does that mean that he can decide to go anywhere he wants, or does he have to go to the highest bidder?
I I don't know. Like, I would think he would go to the highest bidder, but I'm pretty sure that anybody that signs Kawhi after a debacle like that, it would definitely be on the cheap. I don't think you could expect him to have his contract voided, that huge contract he just got, and then turn around and go sign with a team for another huge contract. I'm pretty sure he'll be got for the cheap, and I'm pretty sure the NBA will probably make sure of it.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting. Please stay up on that development, man, because we're gonna definitely have to have some more discussion about that. That's a really, really hot topic, and I want us to be able to bring that to the people once we get some more concrete thoughts about it, or evidence about it. Because man, that's an interesting thing. Anything else going on in the NBA that has sparked your interest? All-Star Weekend has been over for about almost 2 weeks now. We're starting to see some of these teams fall into place as it relates to the Western Conference playoffs and then the Eastern Conference playoffs. Anything else out there that sparked your interest going into the last half or the last third of this basketball season in the NBA?
I mean, yeah, the All-Star weekend definitely didn't pique my interest, but I mean, a couple of teams are interesting, really interesting in the NBA right now. The fact that I believe Griff said this like last week or so, but the fact that a lot of people felt like the Boston Celtics would just fall off with Jason Tatum missing the majority of the season or all of the season. We don't know that yet. But that fact alone that they sit second in the Eastern Conference and Jaylen Brown has been playing at the level he's been playing, that is really interesting to me because I believe that he's a bona fide MVP candidate, just off the strength that nobody expected the Celtics to sit at the second spot with the second seed in the Eastern Conference up to this point without their best player. So I thought that was really interesting. The Houston Rockets, are they faking or are they real? They made that trade for Kevin Durant. They got a nice coaching staff, a nice head coach, some young athletic players. So that's probably one of the more interesting teams when we talk about the Western Conference to me. Now, again, Kawhi Leonard could change a lot of things depending upon what team he goes to. If his contract is voided, he definitely is going to change the conversation when it comes to the NBA and the NBA playoffs. But so I'm interested. Cade Cunningham, could he lead Detroit, and could they make a run in that Eastern Conference? Could they possibly make it to the finals? That dude has been showing out. That's a really good young player right there, man. I love Cade's game. And then, again, the Lakers, man, with Luka Doncic, He's been balling out. He's been putting up bona fide MVP numbers himself. We can he stay healthy and continue on that pace? So Shea Gildress Alexander, can he get back healthy and make another title run? Can he possibly win the MVP again back to back this season? I think as of right now, I still favor Oklahoma City to repeat, but they got a big, big problem coming from the state of Texas and the San Antonio Spurs, especially if Wemby can stay healthy throughout the playoffs. So some really interesting things going on in the NBA.
If you had to pick somebody to come from the East and from the West to make it to the NBA Finals, who would you get a nod to?
The West, I'm going to give the champions the benefit of the doubt. I always remember Rudy T saying, never underestimate the heart of a champion. And they're still a good young team, but now they got that experience. They got that first taste of blood, so to speak. So I'm going to remain on the side of the Oklahoma City Thunder unless the Kawhi Leonard situation tips the balances. So right now, I'll keep OKC as the favorite out the West. As I mentioned, they got a San Antonio Spurs problem. In the Eastern Conference, man, I'm going to say Boston. I know Parlay Poe loves to hear that, but I mean, man, listen. Again, nobody expected the Boston Celtics to be the 2 seed right now. I didn't hear anybody predict that. I don't even think Parlay Poe thought they would be the 2nd seed at this point of the NBA season. I think that team is just so well coached and they got camaraderie, man. And Brown, I think, has proven that he can lead a team by himself. So, and if they get Tatum back and he's able to get into form, I can see Boston definitely coming out the East. But you got a couple teams in the East that got a chance to do some damage. Detroit being one, the Toronto Raptors. I know that's a young team, but they got. I like the way that roster is built in Toronto, man. They got like a bunch of 6'8", 6'9" guys. You know, I like the way that team is constructed. So it's going to be interesting, that Eastern Conference, man. I know a lot of people are picking Detroit or Cleveland, and Cleveland is another team that can be really dangerous, man, when you think about that combination of guards they got down there. So, I mean, Cleveland, Detroit, Boston, Toronto, I think all those teams are viable picks.
What's your thoughts on the situation surrounding Chris Paul and this whole thing with the Clippers?
What about him being released?
Yeah.
I mean, he probably should have just went ahead and retired last season instead of trying to, play one more year. I mean, it was a bad situation, man. I mean, the Clippers going through what they going through with Kawhi and, them trading James Harden. That if I'm Chris Paul, if I'm going to play one more year in the NBA, it's going to be a team competing for the championship. I don't think anybody think the Clippers were ever for real. I know I never thought the Clippers were for real. Maybe a year or two ago, but definitely not coming into this season, man. You got to question Kawhi sometime. He'll miss some time. He's just like the kid we talk about from Kansas. Oh man, his name slips my head. But Darren Peterson from Kansas. Man, you just don't know what you go get with him, and that's the only knock on Kawhi Leonard. But when Kawhi Leonard is playing, man, he balling for real. So I don't know, man. I really haven't, been keeping up with Chris Paul, but he probably should go ahead and retire. He probably should have retired after last season.
Yeah, for Chris Paul to already know how the NBA works, once you get into that kind of age range, you play for that amount of time, there is really no loyalty. And now if he was at the Clippers for his whole entire career and hadn't been anywhere else, maybe they would have told him previously, listen, we want to go in another direction next year. If you still want to continue to play in the NBA, it's probably going to be somewhere else. So you might either want to retire or move on, have that kind of conversation with him. But I think enough has happened to enough players in the NBA that Chris Paul should have been able to see the writing on the wall to know that the Clippers probably wasn't going to hold on to him, to give him a farewell tour. And I agree with you. He probably should have done it last year. But of course he didn't. And now, everybody is feeling some kind of way about how this whole thing went down between him and the Clippers, especially veteran players who have played in the NBA. They all got their opinion about it, but it's a business. And I think Chris Paul should have known better, because enough situations have happened that he should have known that this could easily happen to him. So, I understand what they're saying, and that would have been nice to see him do a farewell tour, but it's a business, man. It's a business.
Absolutely, it's a business, because he should have been in the purple and gold playing alongside Kobe Bryant years ago, but the league hated and didn't want to see that dynamic backcourt. So, but let me ask you, Rob, where do you think, if the league concludes their investigation, where do you think the best fit for Kawhi Leonard would be?
I'm sure that Kawhi Leonard wants to go and win championships. And I really wish, man, that the bridge in San Antonio wasn't what it was, man, because I would love to see him back in San Antonio, man. I know that's not going to happen. I really wish he could land at my Philadelphia 76ers, man. I would be so ecstatic if that was to happen. That's all I'm going to say, man. I would like to see him in Philadelphia. I mean, if the guy is going to be going anywhere, I want him to go to my Philadelphia 76ers because, man, listen, I need something to be excited about. I think Philly could be a really good fit for him, man. He could probably help Embiid in his load management, and Embiid can probably help him in his load management. But all in all, yeah, if he landed at the Lakers, man, that would be unbelievable, bro. That's probably the best destination for him to go team up with a superstar like Luka, to be able to give maybe LeBron another run at a title. I think that would be that's probably the best fit for him, LA. And I know you LA Laker fans would love that. But I think all in all, that's probably the best place for him to go and possibly compete for a championship, seeing that he probably can't go to OKC. You mentioned Peterson for Kansas. They got thumped at home, at their crib, by the Cincinnati Bearcats. What is going on in Kansas? Is he the issue in that locker room? Because those guys seem like they did not want to play at all. And it seems like when he doesn't play, they played a lot better than when he does play. What do you think is going on with that whole team over there in Kansas?
Man, I don't want to butcher the center's name from Cincinnati, but that dude was torching Kansas. I'm not even gonna try to pronounce his name, so forgive me for that if any of him or any of his people are watching this. But that center for the Bearcats put in work on the Jayhawks, so I think that was a big reason. I mean, the Peterson situation is interesting, man, because it seems like from afar, from outside looking in, that this is a talented guy that feels like, I know I'm a top 3 pick in the NBA draft, if not the first pick in the NBA draft, and I'm going to protect myself so I make sure I get to the NBA and out of college. Probably didn't want to go to college in the first place, but he had to. If his dream is to go to the NBA, you got to do a year of college now. I don't think some guys should have to do a year in college so we can avoid situations like this because it's almost as if he's just coasting into the NBA draft. I'm not sure if he's serious about winning the national championship with the Jayhawks. And some people even pointed out this might be the next Kawhi Leonard. And the way he's moving, tapping his coach to take him out the game, missing games, supposedly injured, supposedly sick. I would be in the locker room side eyeing this guy myself. You looking funny in the light, homie. You came here, you committed to this team. Let's roll. Let's see if we can get a national championship out of it. But then again, he just might really be dealing with things. I don't know. But from the outside looking in, that's what it looks like to me, because if they're able to put it all together, you've heard plenty of guys on this podcast mention before that Kansas could be a team you don't want to see in your side of the bracket and who can make a really good run, or they can go home in the first or second round if they don't get their act together. So Kansas is a real weird team. 1 minute they knocking off Arizona without him. The next they get destroyed by Cincinnati at home. So it'll be an interesting situation to monitor, Rob.
Yeah, the thing about this whole situation, man, is a lot of times I think that as athletes, they probably don't understand the power of the media, man. And when the media gets on you and they start coming at you with a negative campaign, it can really have an effect on tons of folks, your family, your teammates, your locker room, everything, man. And I think a lot of times especially young athletes, they don't necessarily know how powerful that the media is. And as casual fans, as fans who are in it, as media people, because we bring conversation and podcasting and stuff to the people as well, so we're part of that media umbrella as well. Sometimes you can get caught up in that thing, man, and it can really, really affect guys, man, when you start talking about, like you just mentioned, they're comparing him to the next Kawhi Leonard. And we know the load management that he was doing. The thing that he probably just couldn't even fathom what happened is what's happening right now, where you're having such an effect on your team, whether you play or whether you don't play, that he needs to understand that, listen, we know you want to get to the NBA, but you're part of the Kansas Jayhawks. If you can go, you go. If there's a situation where you're not feeling 100%, at least go out there and fake like you're going to give it a go. And then just show, I just really couldn't do it, y'all. But to not go out there at all when the fans and the people like ourselves think that you could possibly go and you don't even give it a try, man, we jump on your ass. We like, dude, you killing us. So I think that these young players just don't realize that sometimes, man, that you got to really take into account how powerful the media is. And if they come at you with a negative barrage, boy, it's going to sway a whole lot of people who watch college basketball's opinion about you. And I hope it doesn't damage his draft status, and he's able to do some things and get to the NBA and really clean up the perception that some of us might have about him right now. Our man Mossberg of Level Up Sports 10, good evening, homies. Almost done with the work day. One take, Zaya, what's good? So he's giving a shout out to us and One Take Zaya. Anything else you want to talk about? College, basketball, NBA, NFL, any sport going around? What you want to talk about next? We're right at 50 minutes. We're going to try to go for another 10 minutes. Anything else you want to talk about?
I mean, not really, but I would say, man, I dropped a video the other day or last night about the state of Notre Dame's basketball program under Mike Shrewsbury, the men's basketball. Duke is beating Notre Dame by 40 points right now. By 40. Notre Dame's at home. Go figure, Rob.
Wow. Yeah, it sounded like you were saying that his time should be up and he probably should be out the doors. I believe at the end of this season that's going to be the case for him as Notre Dame's head basketball coach for the men. I think he's going to be out the doors. What do you think about the win that Duke had this weekend over Michigan? Was it necessarily because the point guard went down, or was Duke they just willed themselves to that victory and Boozer just put them on his back?
Yeah, I believe. I thought Michigan was going to win that game first and foremost, so I was totally wrong. But the way Duke played defense, I think they surprised me a little bit. They really played great defense against the University of Michigan, and I didn't think they would be able to do that. So kudos to Duke. They're the new #1 team as it stands today. And I think that Boozer is slowly creeping up that draft board, even though he's going to go in the top 5, 4, 3 picks. But I think he's becoming more and more viable for that first or second pick. And a lot of people, Rob, are comparing him to Kevin Love. If you remember a young Kevin Love in Minnesota before he teamed up in Cleveland with Kyrie and LeBron, it was games where he got 30 and 30. So I think that's a really good comparison with a stretch big like that. So.
Yeah, I think early in that contest, Michigan had some opportunities when they were playing really good defense the first maybe 10 to 12 minutes of that game. Michigan had opportunities to open that thing up. They started taking some shots that they probably should not have been taken. I think they could have probably worked the way they were working through Boozer for Duke. They could have worked through their big man for Michigan, and I don't think they did that. Even though they did a little bit of that, I think they should have done a little bit more, especially once that guard went out. But I think Michigan had a chance early in that game when they were playing really, really good defense. They were getting some turnovers. They were getting Duke to shoot one, and they were getting one shot at it, and that was it. They had opportunities to open this thing up and build a big lead in that first half, and they didn't do it, man. They didn't capitalize on it. And Duke was able to stay around until they figured it out because Duke was missing a lot of shots. They were taking way too many threes that I thought they should not have been taking early in that game. The score was only in the 60s for both teams. So that lets you know that they were not knocking down shots in the other team, and both teams were playing some pretty solid defense. But if you're going to beat a team like Duke, if you're Michigan, you got to get that thing in the 80s, man, and play really good defense. Otherwise, you're not going to beat a team like Duke if you can't score in the 80s.
Let me ask you a question, Rob. You've always rocked with the Titans, the Tennessee Titans. That's always been your NFL team. There's been whispers, and I talked to a guy, I actually work with a guy who's a Tennessee Titan fan, but there's been whispers, bro, that Tennessee might take Jeremiah Love. What are your thoughts on that scenario?
At pick number 4, Tennessee Titans taking Jeremiah Love.
Now, keep in mind, Rob, a lot of people, a lot of analysts think he's the best player in the draft.
I'm okay with that because that's going to give Cam Ward another offense. Now, listen, what's the name is a good running back. Pollard is a good running back, but he's an older running back, and he is not Jeremiah Love. And I think that if you add a guy like Jeremiah Love on the offensive side of the ball for Tennessee, that could be a really good pick. Because I think that Tennessee is going to have to do something on the offensive side of the ball. And if I'm their GM, I'm building that defense through free agency, but I'm going using my draft picks to get me some offensive guys. So I would really love them to get Jeremiah Love at 4. Now, what I would really hope for them to do is be able to trade back maybe 2 or 3 spots, get some more picks, and then get Jeremiah Love. But who knows if he's going to be there, because if there's a team that needs a running back, and Tennessee needs one, even though I like Pollard. Pollard is not going to be able to carry that team, man. He's been in the league for a little while now, and they're going to need to get them a running back. I really would be okay with them getting Jeremiah Love right there, who I believe can be a game-changing running back for Tennessee and to help out Cam Ward. So I would be okay with that.
Yeah, and the thing you get with Jeremiah Love is that he's not just a running back. This is a guy Cam Ward can hit with check downs, can go underneath with and can take it to the house for a touchdown. So I never, all throughout this whole process, I never thought Tennessee would look at Jeremiah Love, but I'm starting to hear they are. And another thing that I heard is that Tennessee might be releasing Pollard. Yeah. That's the reason why they're taking a strong look at Jeremiah Love. And shout out to Jeremiah Love. This is a guy who's going to perform at the NFL Combine. I didn't think he needed to, but he must be thinking, I'm going to show somebody something, because he's running the 40, all that. So it'll be an interesting watch. I got him. I think he's at least going to run a 4.38, at least.
Yeah. I mean, if I'm the Titans, I would release Pollard as well, man. I mean, like I said, he's been in the league for a while. He's a running back who is not going to give you a home run ball. Yeah, he can catch the ball out of the backfield, but is he going to be a guy that defenses are going to be worried about Pollard catching the ball out the backfield? Now, when you couple a Jeremiah Love back there with Cam Ward, and the possibility of getting him out the backfield, one cut and he gone, he almost will have defenses fearing him the way we see them fear Bijan Robinson out of the backfield, stuff like that, man. So I would love for them to get Jeremiah Love, because I think they're going to definitely release Pollard. I don't think that they have any other choice. They have to, I think they have to go ahead and release him, unless he's willing to take a pay cut and be a backup. Which, to do what, though? You know what I'm saying? To give you maybe a couple of carries a game where he can go somewhere else and possibly get way more carries. He wouldn't even want to do that. So he's probably going to be okay with being released to get him an opportunity to go somewhere where he could probably get 15 to 17 touches a game, because Tennessee can't afford to give Pollard 15 to 17 touches a game. They need somebody else.
Don't y'all still got Spears on the roster?
They still got Spears. I like Spears. I like Spears too. But Spears is a backup, though. You know what I'm saying? He ain't no starter.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Anything else? We're going up right on 1 hour. Really, really good show. Really, really good content. I appreciate you being able to join me this evening. We're thankful to everybody that's out there in the chat. Everybody that's out there in the chat, make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe, share our videos. Everybody's channel is scrolling across the bottom. We are really, really at the point now where we are really getting close to being really favorable on YouTube. So keep on continuing to support us, because YouTube is showing us a lot of love right now, and we want that love to continue to grow. But we continue to need your help. Share our video, subscribe, hit the like button, and make sure that you subscribe to all of these channels you see scrolling across the bottom. If you don't see them right now, rewatch this video and jot them down so you can go back into YouTube and subscribe to all of the channels you see scrolling across the bottom. Anything else you want to add before we head on out?
No, that's it for me. I appreciate you, brother.
I appreciate you too, bro. I'll see you again on Thursday evening. You'll be heading up that show?
Mock Draft 2.0.
Mock Draft 2.0. Is that the second round?
Nope, first round. Just with the more time goes by in between drafts, we get more information.
More information.
Like last week when we drafted, no one had a clue Tennessee was looking at Jeremiah Love.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? Nobody had a clue Moss did, that Simpson might be a first round pick. So with new information, we'll come up with new picks.
All right, cool. Well, I'll see you on Thursday. We got a show tomorrow night with my man Mossberg of Level Up Sports 10. Make sure you tune into that. I'll definitely be in a chat for that one. Everybody have a good rest of your evening. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you again soon. Peace.